In front of 3 billion citizens of the Empire watching the match, Khan declared himself to be the strongest, unlike the usual trope of a protagonist hiding his strength till the very end of competition arcs in novels and mangas. Instead of keeping his cards hidden, Khan had arrogantly displayed his true potential to the entire audience and the top figures such as powerful saints of all the factions. At this exact moment, he was the center of attention for the whole empire. You will regret this. My clan and faction won't let you live, you low-life bastard, shouted Victor with all his remaining strength as he publicly threatened Khan. Hee. What an idiot. Fine then. I'll give this whole empire a big show, thought Khan as he unsummoned Draco's armor and returned to his usual black and golden long coat with fighting gear equipped with it. Khan's handsome face and tall stature with the epic rank gear made him look like an heir of a prestigious noble clan. Yet his countenance was as humble as it could be. Victor's impulsive declaration after being unable to accept his defeat opened a new window for him as he decided to use it in his favor. Are you guys done? Asked Khan to his subordinates. Yes, my lord. We've successfully infiltrated the broadcasting department and incapacitated the staff. Whatever you say from now will be uninterrupted, replied Ronan and the rest of the generals. What about you, old man? Are you up for the task? Asked Khan to Albestros, who sat in one of the VIP rooms and held a telepathic communication artifact. I'm ready when you are, replied Albestros. The next second, Khan's gaze shifted from the subdued opponent and he looked towards the audience across the arena. Did you hear what he said? People of Rocco's empire? Asked Khan loudly as he looked right in the center of projection artifacts that were floating around the battlefield. These were the artifacts used to relay the live feed to broadcasting stations, and thus the entire empire could see and hear Khan loud and clear. I've rightfully defeated him in front of everyone. He can't even move a muscle, and by the rules of the competition, I have officially won the match. Yet the referee hasn't declared me as the winner. The announcer hasn't spoken a word about it. It's as if they don't want to declare me as the winner at all, he exclaimed. At this moment, if it was me lying in the ground all bloodied and wounded, they wouldn't have waited even for a moment and declared him as the winner. Nobody would have cared whether I lived or died at his hands because I don't come from any powerful force or have the support of these noble clans and factions, he iterated. At this moment, all the audience was stunned on the spot. Everyone watching the match suddenly came to realize that what Khan said was indeed true. It had been a minute since Khan defeated Victor in a fair and square battle, but no one made any announcement even now. It's as if the whole competition itself is a scam, and anyone who isn't one of these prestigious noble clans and factions will never be allowed to progress furthermore. Let me ask all of you something. Why is that in the past 1,000 years, no one from a commoner background has been able to qualify till the semifinals before me? Is it truly because the common folks lack wealth or resources? Do you really believe that our great empire didn't have talented warriors sitting amongst you? Wasn't the first emperor, the one who created our empire and was the strongest warrior to ever exist in the past millennium, born as a commoner? Open your eyes. Until when are you going to believe in these lies? Questioned Khan in a grandiose manner. Gasp! Billions of people came to a sudden realization, because what Khan said was indeed a fact that no one could deny. Just now, he tried to use his clan and faction's name to threaten me after I defeated him, and yet no one has spoken a word about it. To be honest with you, I have already been threatened a couple of times to forfeit my match against him, and if I win, not only me but everyone I ever knew would be killed. So tell me, how is that fair? He spoke with a fierce expression. This competition itself was created by the first emperor to give everyone a chance to become a respected and powerful person in the empire as long as they have the strength and capacity. But now, it feels more like a playground for the rich and influential where only they win and we participate for the sake of entertaining them. Do we commoners have no right to fight to better our lives? Do we not have the right to control our fate? Are we only supposed to live and die under somebody's thumb? Khan riled up the crowd again. The majority of the audience had clenched their fists as all of them resonated with Khan's words. They don't want you to rise in ranks but always stay under their control. They act all fair and just in public, but have you ever seen a commoner as one of the top ruling figures in this empire? Even now, the government itself is made with the members of these clans, and no normal citizen has ever risen a rank above a magistrate or a normal officer of the army. So tell me, what's even the point of holding this competition if none of us are even allowed to win? Asked Khan with fearless eyes. Let it be an old person who had spent their lives struggling or a teenager, regardless of their species, race, and gender. All of them found Khan's questions relevant to their lives. Why was it that the status quo never seemed to change in their empire? Why is every influential person in the empire, let it be a grandmaster or a saint, they always came from these forces? Was it really because of their resources and wealth, or could it be that the gifted people among them were never allowed to rise up in the first place? Boom! Before Khan could continue his words again, two oppressive auras landed on his body, and he was instantly made to kneel on the ground in front of the whole empire. Two mighty demunkins, both of whom seemed to be third-stage saints, appeared in between Khan and Victor, and they directed their saint aura as well as intense killing intent on Khan. Both of their enraged gazes landed on the young swordsman as they declared in a tyrannical voice, "You have provoked someone you shouldn't have. Now you shall pay for it," spoke a demonkin swordsman. "With your life." Amongst the debris of the now destroyed battlefield, Khan was barely managing to maintain his consciousness after being targeted by the two demonkin saints out of nowhere. His life was in jeopardy once again. Do you really think that anyone can just openly insult the three factions and all the noble clans? And you think you can get away with it just because people are watching? Spoke the demonkin swordsman as his immensely threatening aura oppressed Khan to the point where multiple cracks formed on the broken platform he was standing. You think too highly of yourself, boy. You shall pay for your arrogance for looking down on us. Spoke the second demonkin halberd warrior as he pointed the blade of his weapon at Khan's neck. Khan, on the other hand, was frozen on the spot. Forget about talking back. He couldn't even lift his head. But before anyone could even react, in front of the billions of people watching this match, the saint swung his weapon. Boom! The next moment, however, everyone among the 6 million people audience in this 25 floors battle arena, including the top saints of the empire, were frozen on the spot as a godly blue aura that spread for dozens of kilometers in the sky suddenly suppressed every living being present here. Two bright blue beams of saint aura filled with extremely dense world energy had frozen these two demonkin saints. But unlike everyone else, Khan, who was subjected to the suppression from these two saints, could finally move his body as the auras oppressing him ceased to be. In front of billions of people throughout the empire, an elderly figure who had waist-length silver hair and was dressed in completely white robes descended from the top floor of this 800 meters tall and 7-kilometer circumference battle arena. The massive amount blue fire releasing from this being made him look like a deity coming down from the heavens above. Suddenly, an archaic and solemn voice filled the battle arena, as not a single living soul aside from Khan could move a muscle under this horrifying aura. My, how brazen. You sure are giving a bad name to all of our noble clans and factions," said this elderly vampire who calmly descended in the battle ring. And as soon as his feet touched the ground, in just 2 seconds, the entire shattered battleground was restored to its former state. The aura emitted from the owner of this tyrannical voice was something that couldn't even compare with anything Khan had felt before. Compared to Stronov and Ismaetrzel, both of whom were 4th-stage saints, this godly being's strength was in a completely different realm. His gaze landed on Khan, who was openly declaring that the whole competition was a scam and only the elites and influential of the empire were allowed to win, while the common folks, who made the 95% of the population of this empire, were never given a fair chance in this competition. His claims about how no one from a commoner birth was allowed to fight till later stages, even if they had the talent and ability for it, had already caused a mayhem. The next moment, however, his gaze turned towards two demonkin saints and his eyes turned furious as a despising expression appeared on his face. "I'm not talking about him, but you two. To attack a citizen of our empire, one who rightfully won against his opponent in this match. You both have brought great shame and embarrassment to your clan and faction," said the old vampire as his archaic and kingly voice resounded in the battle arena. to Khan, who had seen this blue fire and felt this familiar aura just 10 days ago when Stronov visited him in his manor. He quickly recognized who this superior being was, and on top of it, he also recalled the time when he heard this voice. The old vampire in front of Khan wasn't just some saint or an influential figure. This person was someone respected and also feared by the whole empire. In his moment of peril, the being who came to save him was one of the 3 strongest individuals of the entire Rocco's empire. It was none other than Sale's grandfather, the faction leader of the Pureblood faction and a 7th stage saint himself, Alistair Moore Vandereyck. Stunned, every single person among the audience throughout the empire who was watching this broadcast was stunned. Billions of confused people questioned one thing. Who was this old vampire that like he owned the place? Not everyone had actually seen or met him, and the common folks hardly had time to care about who was the big shot among the elites as they focused on their daily life struggles to make a living. But one thing they knew for sure. Judging on the current state of these 2 saints who couldn't even bat an eyelid under the immense pressure released by this person. He was definitely one of the top figures of their empire. So we finally meet, human boy. No wonder my son was so adamant about offering my personal token to you. You have outlived both of our expectations. I'm pleased to see that the one to hold my recommendation token is indeed a capable and worthy warrior. Spoke Alistair in Khan's mind. He wasn't using any form of artifact or a magic spell, but his thoughts were clear for Khan to hear inside his mind as if they had a sense of bond already. But you have created quite a ruckus now. This stunt was unnecessary and you could have lost your life today. And what you just did, it won't be forgotten by the ruling powers of the empire. Not unless. He relayed his thoughts again. Unless what? Asked Khan in a cautious tone. The next second, the 7th stage saint declared in his authoritative tone in front of the whole empire. I, Alistair Moore Vandereyck, the current head of the Pureblood faction and the general of the army of our great Rocco's empire. His gaze turned to Khan again and then faced the projection artifacts as he announced in his archaic voice that echoed through the whole empire. Declare mine and the Pureblood faction's full support to the candidate named Khan. After Alistair Moore Vandereyck, one of the 3 strongest individuals of the empire and the general of the army which was unknown to many citizens of the empire till now declared his full support to Khan. A young swordsman who came from no powerful background, even all the top ruling powers of the empire were gobsmacked. With this declaration, all the saints who were previously enraged and wanted to kill Khan instantly retracted their killing intent and murderous aura. Although the 2 demonkin saints reacted first, others weren't far off from doing the same. Let it be the neutral, demi-human and pureblood faction, majority of their top figures had the same thought. All of them were the most powerful figures of the empire who lead millions of people in their respective clans, and their strength as well as authority was unparalleled. Yet someone like Khan insulting and then exposing the inner happenings of the competition had ostracized them in front of the whole empire. But after Alistair, the vampire faction leader, announced his support, not a single one of them dared to have those thoughts linger in their minds. Because now, nobody in this empire could touch Khan unless they wanted their entire clan to be wiped out of existence. Khan's jaw was wide open after the sudden predicament he was in. This was going completely against his plans, and he was completely baffled at the moment. 2 days ago, when his opponent for the match was announced, Khan had Ronan do a thorough intel gathering on Victor and his records of the previous matches. After receiving the info and how this half-breed demonkin usually fought against his opponents as well as his demeanor, Khan devised a plan that he would be able to use in his favor. Based on the information he received, Victor was simply too arrogant, impulsive and prideful of his background and lineage. And that was why Khan started to insult this opponent since the very beginning of the match by telling him to kneel and beg on the ground if he wanted to win the match. And as expected, the demonkin warrior ended up threatening Khan after he didn't want to accept his defeat. And that was the exact moment Khan was aiming for. And all the High Lord subordinates who had a human form were ordered to infiltrate and subdue the staff of the broadcasting station so his blood-boiling speech would enrage the crowd. His original plan included him exposing what happened to him, how he was being targeted and even nearly getting killed. And to put the cherry on top, Albestros himself was going to come down here and give his support as well as tell their tragic story about his children and how Khan avenged them, to sway the public opinion and gain their imminent support. And once the whole audience watching the match sided with him, not just these noble clans, but any powerful figure or a saint would dare to touch him until the finals. Because if anything happened to Khan after this, the whole empire would be filled with riots and public disorder to a degree that even the saints, clans, factions and the government itself wouldn't be able to contain it even if all of them joined hands together. And that was exactly what Khan had planned after the meeting with subordinates and Albestros. Everything was going according to the plan until the two impatient demonkin saints who were foolish enough to attack him while the whole empire was watching came into play. But then, Alistair showing up and now declaring his support to Khan turned his original plans upside down. Because even in his case, the recommendation token should have worked again to save him in that situation, but instead, the owner of the token himself came to save Khan. And now, Alistair openly declaring his support also meant that Khan was now tied to the pureblood faction whether he wanted it or not. In a way, he just became a proxy chosen representative of their faction. While he was lost in thoughts, Alistair spoke again in his authoritative tone. The reason I'm declaring my support to this young man is because I'm impressed with his courage and bravery. He chose to speak against inequality and injustice that I was suspicious of myself. To reveal the misconduct in front of the whole empire despite knowing the risk to his life was something only a true patriot of our empire would do. In my eyes, he is no different than those brave soldiers who fight and risk their lives on our borders as they defend our empire with their sweat and blood. Tell me, O people of Rocco's empire, does a brave man like this do not deserve our full support? I can't say anything about others, but I and my pureblood faction shall never condone such actions, and hence, we will fully support Khan during the investigation that I will appeal for to the government. Spoke Alistair with his regal demeanor. Clap, clap, clap. The next moment, two more godly beings descended from the air and landed in front of them. A white-bearded tigerkin and an elven mage dressed in kingly robes also entered the chat group. For those who do not know, my name is Stalin Joseph. I'm the leader of the neutral faction as well as the chairman of the Council of Ministers. Spoke the tigerkin with an upright expression. And I am Jeremiah Themis, leader of the demi-human faction as well as the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of our great empire. Spoke the elderly elven mage with a kind expression. We are here to applaud this young man's chivalrous deed, the selfless action of putting the truth out there and exposing the shameful act of trying to dictate the winner of this sacred competition. Spoke Stalin. And I will personally form a committee to investigate this whole issue myself. Spoke the elven mage, but then his gaze shifted to the demonkin saints and Victor, who was still lying in the ground. He spoke with a grim and contemptuous tone that sent shivers in their bodies. As for you three, I shall deliver the judgment myself. As Jeremiah Themis, the faction leader of the demi-human faction, spoke in his kingly tone. The three demonkins shuddered in fear, their bodies barely able to handle the godly pressure from the 7th stage saint, and both of the 3rd stage saints caved in. You two bastards came to do the damage control and save your factions from the public wrath? Asked Alistair as he telepathically talked with the two 7th stage saints in front of him. Aren't you doing the same, you damn bloodsucker? Asked Stalin with a benign smile on his face. These little impatient runts. They really put me in a pinch, said Jeremiah as he gave a look full of disdain to the three demonkins. The next moment, he cast a cage made of Saint Aura and captured the two demonkin saints who were actually Victor's uncles in reality. You have greatly shamed your clan and our faction's name by committing such an atrocity. Just because you have some strength and a background, did you think you could go around oppressing and killing people of our empire? Did you really think that I and our faction will stay silent and do nothing? From this moment forth, I, Jeremiah Themis, publicly banish the Apopes clan from our demi-human faction, he declared in front of the entire empire. But Lord Faction Leader, please, let us. Silence. I have made my decision. And you three shall be taken into custody and a trial would be held so you can reflect on your actions. He spoke like a true judge since it was part of his job in the government of the Empire. Lord Faction Leader. It's him who provoked. Spoke Victor, but before he could complete his sentence, Jeremiah released some of his pressure again and froze his body on the spot. Unbeknownst to everyone else, the seventh stage Elven Saint spoke in Victor's mind. Don't embarrass us more than you already have, boy. You fell for his small trick and implicated all of us, you imbecile, he commanded. At the other end, Khan, who had no choice but to watch the charade, had thoughts of his own. These old bastards. Cursed Khan in his mind. To normal folks, Jeremiah appeared like a righteous person who was punishing the guilty. But the powerful knew that he was basically throwing Victor and the entire Apopes clan under the bus to not affect their faction's name or reputation when the whole empire was watching. One thing Khan realized was that all three of the faction leaders were doing damage control and lying on the spot to recover their images in front of the citizens after the stunt he pulled off. Realizing the fact that if he was a professor who taught the course of lying and deception, every single one of these three people was the one who wrote these books. As if, he will only declare that in public, but actually, it won't change a damn thing behind the curtain. There will be no trial either. Thought Khan. Am I going to be their puppet again? First, God of Darkness. Then Arkham and Solomon. Later, it was Ismaetrezl, the Vanderite clan, and now these three faction leaders. Why the hell am I never truly in control? Cursed Khan in his mind. Because no matter how smartly he played his cards, he was still being used by the truly powerful in the end. He knew that after this, the whole image correction campaign of the noble clans, the three factions and the government would start throughout the empire, and before the finale, today's incident would be buried as if nothing ever happened. So in the end, all his efforts were going in vain. And all of it kept happening because Khan was playing along with the big guns with his meager strength. If he was a powerful saint like the three faction leaders, things would go in a completely different route than his current predicament. Never again, after this. I'd rather die than do their bidding, thought Khan as he made a firm resolution in his mind. In front of billions of audience, Khan was officially declared as the winner of this semifinals match, and the whole incident regarding him risking his life to shed light on the truth regarding this competition was etched into the minds of the normal citizens. More than 1 billion people discussed Khan's sudden revelation as a semi-saint despite coming from no noble background or any powerful force. The way he fought like a seasoned warrior and how he completely decimated his opponent with pure skills alone became the talk of the empire. And after this match, Khan was recognized by all the factions as a potential top figure in the upcoming future because even one of the strongest people in the entire empire had given his support to him. But the saints of these powers and factions also recognized his true potential as someone who had already surpassed the majority of the semi-saints, let it be the younger generation or the old ones, based on his unparalleled skill called the Dragon Strike. Up until now, he was a nobody in their eyes. And no one had thought much about his journey till this point because all of them expected only the top clans to make it to the finale anyway. Meanwhile, all the High Lord subordinates who were safeguarding the broadcasting stations already returned and mixed among the crowd. All that left for them was to collect the money they bet on Khan. And given the odds and the amount they spent, it would be a miracle if they managed to collect it all before the finale. When the night came and all the people returned to their homes, a different atmosphere filled the main headquarters of the top three factions. Their respective faction leaders along with the top figures of the council held a secret meeting. In case of the demi-human faction, even Victor's father, Darius Apopes, was present in there. All these top saints of the Rocco's empire had only one topic in their mind as they discussed amongst themselves as if the matter was of the utmost importance. No matter the cost, we have to make him willingly join us. No matter the price, spoke the faction leaders in their respective headquarters, and gave a final command. We must get Khan on our side. The next day after Khan's matches, the hype for the next match continued as the next and final round before the main finale was even more popular compared to Khan and Victor's match, because the two candidates who'd be fighting in this match were two of the top three candidates who were expected to win this competition based on their talent and prestige amongst the three factions. A semi-saint versus a semi-saint. The Raven Sorceress versus the Dual Sword Saintess. Cassandra Michelson versus Celine Armitage. Both of whom were the chosen representatives of the neutral faction as well as heiress of their respective clans. On paper, both the young human sorceress and the demonkin swordswoman were eventually matched. But none of them had revealed their full extent of strength or skills even till now. So what everyone in the Empire expected to see was these two young women fight against each other to prove their worth, since rumors had spread among the masses that in case any of them wins the competition, they will be chosen as the successors of neutral faction leader. And given the fact that both of their fathers were sixth-stage saints themselves, it became a matter of prestige as well, a key moment in the history of the neutral faction. So the exposure and anticipation was already twice compared to Khan's match. However, on the day of the match, Khan received an invitation. Not just a normal invitation, but one that arrived with a warship. Khan had no choice but to accept and read the contents. "I see. I expected as much." He spoke and departed in the warship that was actually sent to escort him to the residence of the host. After spending 1 hour and traveling nearly 900 kilometers in this warship that resembled an intergalactic spacecraft, he and the force of grandmasters that was sent to escort him finally landed in the western end of the central region of the capital. In front of Khan stood an enormous fort situated in a large city. Khan still couldn't see an end of the ginormous construct as the entrance gates themselves were 100 meters tall. After a luxurious flying carriage picked him up, Khan spent half an hour just to reach the main meeting hall, where he was showered with flowers and escorted inside like a celebrity. At the end of the 1-kilometer-long hall, where dozens of platforms and chairs were placed and could hold a grand meeting of at least 1,000 individuals, were two people waiting patiently. On the huge main throne was an elderly and silver-haired vampire sitting like an absolute king, and on the side of the throne was a small throne where another silver-haired man who barely looked in his 30s awaited Khan. The father-son duo of Alistair and Ismaetrizel had invited, more like summoned Khan. "How are you, human boy? Did you have a comfortable journey?" asked Alistair in a magnanimous tone. "Yes, your lordship," spoke Khan respectfully as he half knelt in front of the 7th-stage saint. "Do you have any idea why I have called upon you?" asked the faction leader. "I think I do," replied Khan with an understanding gaze. "Good. You're smart enough to understand these small things at least. You do know that you're alive at this moment because I declared my support to you in front of this whole empire, right?" he asked. "Yes, your lordship," said Khan in an understanding tone. He didn't have any domineering attitude or rebellious tone in his speech, as the being standing in front of him was someone he couldn't even dare to stand in the same room. At this moment, Alistair looked at Khan as if a gigantic dragon was gazing at a small puppy. The realm of strength both of them were at was worlds apart. "So what do you want in return for the protection?" asked Khan as he stood properly in front of the two saints. "Have you reconsidered the offer I made you months ago?" asked Ismaetrizel in a solemn tone. "I have, and it's still no," spoke Khan without a pause. "However, I have been approached by others just like you," he said before either of the saints could speak anything. Both of their expressions turned alarmed, but they quickly regained their composure. "Who?" asked Alistair in his old and grim voice. "Stronov Michelson, just like Lord Clan Leader here. He too offered me to become his disciple, and more importantly, he offered me to join their clan through marriage," revealed Khan with a calm expression. The next second, however, both the father and son lost their composure and instantly reacted. "You can't," spoke Alistair. "Ersh." Suddenly Khan's expression turned to that of irritation, and he no longer acted like an obedient child in front of these two powerful beings. "Lord Faction Leader and Lord Clan Leader, can we drop these pretenses for once? It's suffocating," spoke Khan in a carefree tone. There was a reason why he revealed the inside info about Stronov trying to recruit him. He wanted to see the expression on the faces of the two vampires, and after seeing their reaction, he knew one thing for sure. They needed him. Khan carefully walked towards the left and sat on a golden Ottoman-style chair and crossed his legs. His attitude took a U-turn as if he no longer cared about angering these two saints. If anyone could tell me what the hell is actually happening, that'd be great, spoke Khan as if he had suffered a great injustice. The next moment, the old vampire spoke again, but without getting enraged or offended by Khan's sudden shift in attitude. I can tell you, but can you stomach it? Because me telling you the truth also means you will have to choose our side. Sigh. Khan sighed as his shoulders dropped and he took a deep breath. After yesterday's fiasco, he took a pause and spoke in a helpless tone. Aren't I already on your side? No extra words were spoken between the three men after Khan's affirmation about being their chosen representative after yesterday's events. I'm basically representing your faction in the finale, he said. To his words, both the saints gave an understanding nod. Alistair gave it a final thought and decided to speak. Before I tell you anything, know this. If you leak this information to anyone else or try to join any faction, there will be dire consequences. If you betray us or try to double-cross us, the one to kill you will be none other than me. Khan on the other end wasn't fazed by these words. He had been facing death quite often these days anyway. For the next 1 hour, all three of them had a hearty chat where Khan was either in complete disbelief, holding his head in surprise and pulling his own hair in irritation. What the hell? He exclaimed loudly. So that's why everyone was after me? Then what about this competition? What part does it play in all of this? Asked Khan to the old vampire. Obviously, the one to win this competition can legally pick that area as their fiefdom. Not only can they use the resources of that place to fill their pockets but also have full control over it both in terms of political and military power. Do you really think the winner faction will let others enter that area after choosing it as their fiefdom? No amount of authority or political pressure can make the other two factions gain any form of footing there. Since all three of the faction leaders have taken a blood oath, we will die if we try to betray the contract. And hence, the one to win this competition also has the best chance to get it. Iterated Alistair. So tell me, Khan, do you accept our proposal? Asked Ismatrazal in a solemn tone. Sigh. He sighed again and spoke in an exasperated tone. It's not like I have a choice. I was already playing the game I didn't even know the rules of. What choice do I have left now? Let's say that I accept this deal. But I have some terms of my own. And I don't think you have any other choice but to accept them at this point if you want me to do with my free will, said Khan and gave a resolute expression towards Alistair. What is it? Asked the old vampire with a curious gaze. Khan then replied with a fearless expression as he spoke in a domineering voice. I will do everything on my terms. Both the vampires had confused expressions as they signaled him to elaborate. What I mean is that it should be okay as long as the means meet the end, right? I will not answer to anyone. I won't allow to be monitored or report anything to any supervisor. And do not expect me to join your faction after everything is done. He stated. Careful boy. You're not in a position to make such demands, said Alistair as he slightly leaked his aura. Is that so? The way I see it. Only me and Celine Armitage of the neutral faction have a 50% chance to succeed. If you try to force me in any way, you know that you'll lose your last chance. Is that a risk you can afford, Lord Faction Leader? Asked Khan with a smug expression. Wrinkles formed on the old vampire's face as he squinted his eyes to hold his irritation. Fine. State what you want in return, he said with a grunt. Now we're talking. So here are my terms of exchange, spoke Khan. For the next 10 minutes, he stated his secret demands and what he wanted in return from their pureblood faction. After the deal was agreed on both sides and evening finally came, he was escorted back to Rukon district in the warship he came in. The secret behind why these factions wanted Khan to join their side, the offer made by both Ismatrazal Vostronov and the whole truth behind the Emperor's chosen competition itself was something nobody aside from the top dogs of the three factions knew of. And after he heard the real reason, Khan's own plans had to be changed as well. In the meeting hall of the Pureblood faction headquarters, Alistair, who remained with his son, spoke in a ghastly tone. I'm sure that Stalin and Jeremiah sensed it as well. We have to make sure that their people can't approach him or pressurize him in any way. Deploy 5 of our third-stage saints for his protection. That human boy. I believe he's the key, spoke the old vampire with a serious expression. What do you mean? Asked the silver-haired swordsman to his father. Why do you think we did no kill him after the blunder he pulled off in front of the whole empire? Asked Alistair. Because the entire empire was watching? Asked Ismaetrizel. It did play a part in our decision, but it's not the primary reason, replied the elderly vampire. Then what is it? Asked the clan leader. First tell me, what do we know about his family history? He asked. We found out that he is an orphan. There's no information about his parents. But we do know that he once belonged to a mercenary group that was massacred in a bandit ambush just a year ago. And his uncle, the only blood relative he had, also died. He is the sole survivor as per our intel. He met the peak Grandmaster Blacksmith Albestros Winston after getting hired as a bodyguard and saved his life many times during their journey to the capital when he also saved Sale. As for his talent and rise in rank without any support or resources from a powerful backer, it's still unknown till this point, reported Ismaetrizel. I see. Then it makes things easier. If anyone can do it, it'll be this human boy. Although it's extremely weak, I'm certain that aura I feel from him belongs to that man's bloodline. Khan could be their descendant, but he doesn't even know it, said the old vampire as he crossed his arms. Whose aura, Lord Father? Asked Ismaetrizel with a curious gaze. To his query, the old vampire replied with a stern tone. The aura of the previous emperor. When Khan returned to his manor and sat in a meeting between him, Albestros, and the subordinates, he explained the whole truth to all of them and why they were being targeted since the beginning. He spoke in a sinister tone after he proposed his new foolproof plan. Till this point, those vampires and their faction used me like a puppet. But from now on, he said and continued with a sinister expression, it will be me who uses them. 5 days after the second round of the semifinals was done, the day of the finale finally came, and a grand festival-like atmosphere came to be throughout the Rocco's empire. This day would be etched into the history just like the finales of the Emperor's Chosen competition in the past millennium. And by no means it would be overshadowed by anything else. What would happen today will directly impact the future of millions of people, as the winner would get to choose a fiefdom and then live as a ruler of that area. The fate of the millions of citizens would be in their hands. Although it appeared as a bad idea to let an inexperienced person take charge of such places, history had proven from time to time that it also created good leaders, and often, the people from these fiefdoms lived better lives and quality of lifestyle, because their rulers only paid attention to developing their rule and did not work like a government officer who couldn't even arrange enough funds for the development of these states. And after 1,000 years, only 3 areas big enough to be chosen as a fiefdom were left in the empire, 2 of which were extremely rich in natural resources and had a plethora of opportunities for redevelopment, which would often create new jobs for the common folks and cultivate new cities in due process. Hence, the common folks were looking forward to which area the champion of this competition would choose. As for the results of the previous match on the day Khan met and made a deal with the pureblood faction leader, he willingly chose to not watch it from recordings and only heard about who the winner was. And after hearing the results, he chose to meet this opponent right in the battlefield without even checking how this female opponent looked in reality. For the first time in this competition, he was going without any prior information about the opponent, as he was busy taking care of his last cards and the wealth he earned. He planned on how they were going to use it so that nobody from any faction could harm him in any way, and he will be using it to the best of his advantage. All the money he won after his match with Victor was only gathered but yet to be tallied completely, as it was going to take them months based on the estimations presented by Sirius, his new head accountant who had been managing their legit and the business through 7 deadly sins. The orc accountant had proven himself as an incredibly talented and capable person who wasn't only good with numbers, but also knew how to launder their money through legal means more than the generals. Khan saving this helpless orc nearly a month ago and deciding to cultivate him as a useful individual for the long term indeed turned out fruitful. So there were many things Sirius was left in charge of, so Omega and the generals could handle other things. Lord Khan, it is done, spoke Sirius as he bowed in respect to Khan. Throughout the tournament, he was receiving surprise after surprise when Khan kept progressing from rounds after rounds, and he too was taken aback. It was only when Khan and the generals needed a reliable hand to manage the income did they bring Sirius into their inner circle. But after the semi-finals, Sirius had nothing but respect for Khan in his mind, because it was now well known to the whole empire that Khan was someone who reached this stage in the competition without the support of any force and backing, and even risked his life to expose the misconduct during the competition. In a way, Khan had gone from a savior to a god in his eyes. "How much did we need to spend?" asked Khan. "Approximately 300 billion gold coins, my lord," reported Sirius as he handed Khan records of their expenditure. "Good. It's money well spent. Now let's wait till the right moment. After this, we won't have to be afraid of anyone," spoke Khan in with a smirk. Sirius nodded and left for his task. "Master, it's time. We should leave," spoke Jugram in his mind. After Khan and his envoy gathered, they departed for the battle arena, where the final match which would decide Khan's fate in this empire was to be held in the evening. After safely reaching inside the arena while avoiding watchful eyes, Khan reverted to his original appearance and entered the battlefield. After the grand opening ceremony, while being escorted by a dozen peak grandmasters, he finally reached his side of the battle ring. The arena this time was 1.5 times bigger than his previous match, while the main battleground in itself was 5 kilometers in circumference. Even in the novels and mangas Khan used to read, the cultivator protagonists didn't have this much area during their fights, entailing that the power scale of this world was on a completely different level. Because even an ancient immortal from such novels and stories would be bitch-slapped to death by a 5th-stage saint in this world. On the highest floors were the top saints, including faction leaders present in the arena to watch the match. Khan and his opponent's odds are 70:30 for betting, him being on the losing side again, because after the second match, people came to a realization about who was most likely to win this competition. Yet the previous match with Victor also greatly boosted his odds and reputation. "Go all in," he commanded, and waited for his opponent to enter the battlefield. Tap, tap, tap. The resounding footsteps of his opponent filled the tranquil battle arena. Shrill. The very next moment, Khan felt a familiar killing aura that he sensed on the day when he defeated Veronica in the quarterfinals. He already heard who his opponent was and how she defeated her opponent in the semifinals with an impeccable display of control and diversity in terms of her skills and how she controlled the battlefield. But it was the first time he saw how she looked in real life. In front of him now stood the other finalist. But before Khan could speak a word or do anything, thump, 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 after he saw his female opponent, a sudden rush of emotions spread through his body and mind. And for the first time in Khan's new life, his heart fluttered. In front of the 8 million people, every single one of whom was rich enough to buy this 50,000 gold coins worth ticket, Khan gazed, was simply awestruck after looking at her. "Is this what they call love at first sight?" thought Khan as he kept staring at the young woman on the opposite side while a gentle breeze passed by. The distance between them was just 1/2 kilometer, but since both of them were semi-saints, Khan could notice every minute detail about the woman who made his heart pound for the first time. Even at this moment, his racing heart was out of control, and so was his mind that was lost in a different dream world. Because at this exact moment, a young woman of the same age as Khan was dressed in an epic rank black sorceress robe, a black drape fluttering behind her with yellow gauntlets, waist belt and pauldrons as part of her gear, stood on the opposite side. In her left hand was a bright yellow orb that was an artifact often used by the summoner class to channel magic. Her well-proportioned figure was barely 3 inches shorter than Khan. Yet her skin tone was very fair and pleasing to the eyes. Her raven-black hair and dark blue eyes only complemented her beauty and made her look extremely desirable in the eyes of every male of the Empire watching this finale match. Khan absolutely did not believe in the exaggerated things like the beauty overthrowing the kingdom that were often mentioned in romance novels and harems, where the main character was just a bad guy who liked to flirt with women in every city he passed through. But after looking at the woman who was slowly walking towards him, Khan felt that those types of women did exist to a degree. But what fluttered his heart was her overall personality and appearance. Because her attitude, her clothing, her facial and physical features were something he had yearned for in his imaginary ideal woman from the past life as Elric. To him, the mesmerizing and enchanting figure of the opponent looked like the young version of Eva Green cast in the live-action role for Yennefer of Vengerberg from the third The Witcher game, as far as her appearance was concerned. "Hello, Mr. Khan. I'm Cassandra Michelson," said Cassandra as she formally introduced herself. His opponent was none other than the Raven Sorceress, the one titled as the #1 genius of the younger generation. "Hello, Khan, I'm Cassandra," replied Khan in a hurry. "Wait, that's not right," he quickly said and regained his consciousness. "Dude, what the hell is happening?" wondered Khan in his mind. "Hee. Looks like you have finally found a mate, human," joked Rudra in his mind. "Shut up, you legless lizard," admonished Khan. "Oh mighty Giga Chad, lend me the strength to fight these evil thoughts," prayed Khan as he closed his eyes and tried to adjust his breathing. "What's your full name?" asked Cassandra in a gentle tone. "It's Khan, Salvatore," he said, "by the law of conservation of the Vampire Diaries. If she was a Michelson, he had to be a Salvatore. I've heard quite a lot about you. Even my second uncle speaks very highly of you. So please go easy on me during our battle," she said in her merry and pleasant voice. "This creep, why does he keep staring at me like that? I'll step on his face in front of the whole empire for hurting our Veronica," thought Cassandra as she maintained a friendly smile on her face. "So beautiful. Oh damn. Control yourself, you damn simp. She's a red flag. Remember, just like Catherine, her name also starts with a K. Wait, my name also starts with a K. Seriously, who the hell is this novel's author? That imbecile has no naming sense." He kept cursing and regained his composure. The next moment, Cassandra spoke again. This time, her tone turned from friendly to authoritative. "Why don't you do me a favor and forfeit this match? I would hate to form an enmity with you because of this fight," said Cassandra as she gave a gentle smile to Khan. "Pick a fight with me. Please pick a fight with me. If not for my father and those old rascals from the faction council watching, I would have attacked you already," she exclaimed in her mind. Yet the expression on her face was of someone who seemed very pleased to meet Khan. To the audience, however, this entire scenario seemed completely out of their expectations. Both of these combatants were supposed to be top geniuses of their generation and extremely fierce warriors. But instead of engaging in a head-on battle from the start, they were having a formal conversation as if this arena was holding a gathering function and they were trying to get acquainted with each other. To some, felt like at this rate, they'd soon start flirting in the middle of the ring. "If you really want it that bad, I can lose this match for you. But what will I get in exchange?" asked Khan in a joking manner. Stunned, not just the common populace but even all the saints and the 3 faction leaders had their jaws dropped on the ground. Was this a joke? Was Khan really considering throwing away the match because a pretty girl asked him to? Or this whole thing was a setup in reality and the match was already fixed? More than 1 billion people throughout the empire had this exact thought at this moment. What the hell? Is this guy a nut job or something? Is he really considering it? Wondered Cassandra. Unlike her outer appearance, Cassandra was more of a rough and tough type of person in reality, not some carefully raised princess of a kingdom. "What? Really? What do you want?" asked Cassandra as she squinted her eyes. "Something of equal value. Something worth giving up this match for," replied Khan as he slightly tilted his head and maintained his friendly and welcoming expression. "What do you want exactly?" she asked with a cautious expression. The next second, Khan smirked as he inspected Cassandra from head to toe again and spoke with a charming smile. "I want you to marry me." Let it be Cassandra, the audience, or the top mighty figures of the Empire. Everyone aside from Khan was stunned and left speechless after this sudden demand by the young swordsman. Cassandra had her eyes wide open as her jaw almost hit the floor. The next moment, her face turned red as a flustered expression appeared on her beautiful face. "What? What kind of nonsense are you talking about?" asked Cassandra in a high-pitched tone. Khan was teasing her in front of the whole Empire. "Hey! You started it first. Are you that dumb? Will I really give in to your proposal because you asked nicely? Looks like you know nothing about the outside world, princess. Only a pretty face but no brains," taunted Khan in a sarcastic tone. Embarrassed. Cassandra felt embarrassed as soon as he mentioned this part. It wasn't her but her father's command to propose this idea to Khan and try to not make enemies with him because they too wanted Khan to join their side. Also, embarrassing her this way was Khan's plan to get in her head. It would be useful if he could make her lose composure as he verbally provoked her in front of the Empire. Because no prideful and independent woman would let such remarks pass by easily. This kid. The more he pisses her off, the fiercer she will get. I already warned him. If he keeps doing it, she might just beat him to death, said Stronov, who was seated in their VIP room along with Cassandra's father. "Cassandra, we will take care of this later. You can start fighting now," said her father, Damon Michelson. The sixth-stage mage and the current clan leader of the Michelson clan also came because today he expected to see his daughter win this competition and pave the way for their faction for the upcoming future. During the competition, Cassandra was the most popular candidate ever since she started from the bottom rounds, unlike other semi-saints of the faction. So not just normal people but even the saints from other factions had expected to see her in the finale. The biggest oddball that no one expected to see was Khan himself. "I see. Then there's no point in me holding back, right?" asked Cassandra as she clenched her teeth and tried to hide her anger after Khan made a fool out of her. "Just you wait, you scumbag. You'll be begging me to stop," she thought as a battle intent filled her eyes. Boom! Two loud bursts of the auras instantly filled the battle ring as Khan and Cassandra released their full strength right off the bat. A violet aura along with a dark and red aura filled the battlefield. Millions of people among the audience also felt their intensely terrifying killing intent. Khan quickly activated Sword Savant skill and created 50 aura blades. All his battle-related passive skills in effect and one by one. His body let out 4 different auras. Boom! 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 4 consecutive shockwaves were released from Khan's body as he activated all of his attack buff skills and received an immediate boost in his stats. Shrill! Cassandra, on the other end, finally revealed her skills as 6 different elemental orbs formed after she channeled her mana and created 6 different constructs. And soon, these orbs levitated high in the air and took different shapes in just 5 seconds. 2 giant lances, 2 shields, and 2 bows, each of which was glowing with the matching colors of their respective elements such as lightning, light magic, fire, water, earth, and wood. And to top it all of these conjured weapons were 10 meters tall in size. Lightning crackled one lance while blistering heat from the second one raised the temperature of the atmosphere. 2 heavy and rugged shield made of earth element cracked the ground as soon as it landed on the battle platform, while the battlefield shook as soon as the wooden and earth elemental shield banged against the ground. 1 bow made of the light element while the other one made of highly compressed water hovered in the air as Cassandra fortified these constructs with her mana. So just as I heard, she has the skills of the summoner class. And yet, this isn't even half of her strength. Looks like she wants to probe my strength first, thought Khan as he charged towards her conjured construct. Compared to his size, these constructs appeared like tall towers. And if this was a real battle, Cassandra would be easily able to fight against more than 1,000 people because her constructs had the best combination of defense, attack, and long-range attacking skills. And based on their size alone, the damage she could do to an enemy force would be massive. Bang! Khan's own summoned aura greatswords collided against these highly dense elemental constructs as per Khan's will while he himself charged to close the distance between him and the opponent. The next second, He appeared 100 meters as if he teleported using the new skill he created after merging side hopper va flash steps after the semifinals. This was now his fastest agility and movement skill that surpassed all the other ones he had before. And he named this new SS rank skill as Quicksilver. She's smart. She's using the best element suited for attacks, defense, and long-range damage. I guess she's no poser after all, thought Khan as his figure flickered again and appeared 100 meters closer to the opponent. Boom! A loud aftershock resounded as Khan appeared on the southern end after he quickly dodged a strike from the lightning lance. His own aura sword started attacking Cassandra's weapons and shield as Khan's figure appeared and disappeared from time to time while he evaded the light and water arrows shot from her bows. Boom! Bang! Dang! Clang! In just a minute, as soon as both the combatants seriously started fighting and their aura weapons started clashing, the battle took a heated turn. Khan quickly swung Lucifer and used lightning flash attack to break past her defensive shields, only to receive an aftershock from the point of impact. His aura blades spammed the attacks with different elemental blades as he looked for an opening while consecutively using Quicksilver skill to avoid getting hit. Right there, thought Khan, and the next second, he appeared between the gap between the giant shields that was created after a volley of attacks from his swords. "You're full of openings," spoke Khan as he dashed forward after infiltrating inside her defensive formation. "Is that so?" replied the female opponent. But the next moment, Cassandra gave a light smirk as she spoke in a mocking tone. "You're right where I want you to be." As soon as Khan charged through the opening he created, more likely he was led to believe that he created, Cassandra gave a light smirk in response. Survival instinct blessing quickly alarmed Khan that he was in grave danger. Shing! But before Khan could even use Quicksilver and get out, an orchid-colored barrier suddenly appeared out of nowhere and encapsulated the 100-meter area around Khan. Cassandra, who was standing nearly 200 meters away from Khan, then moved her hands as if casting some sort of spell. Suddenly, his body felt heavy as if all of the strength he had was getting suppressed greatly. This is a restriction barrier," exclaimed Khan in surprise. This was the exact experience he had before when Solomon and Arkham tried to kill him. But unlike the prior event, the restriction barrier lowered all of his physical stats to 60% of the original strength. What the hell? Isn't she a summoner? Since when can they cast a magic barrier? And she isn't even using an artifact for it, wondered Khan with a shocked expression. Crackle, crackle, sizzle, sizzle. Before he could give it too much thought, both the giant lightning and fire lances attacked Khan with a quick stab towards his location. Boom! Another big explosion shook the battlefield and shattered the 50-meter radius battleground, and sonic booms filled the arena. Shing! 60 meters high in the air, a bright blue and archaic magical formation suddenly formed above Khan, who barely survived against the lightning and the fire lance attack. What the bloody hell? Cursed Khan as he was already greatly suppressed, and now Cassandra had cast a 100-meter wide lightning elemental magic formation. This was an enchanter's skill as far as magic-related professions were concerned in this world. Multiple thundering noises filled the arena and survival instinct alerted Khan's mind, as if an extremely dangerous attack was coming his way. "Dude, this is simply cheating," he exclaimed and tried to run out of the restriction barrier. Boom! 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 Dozens of lightning strikes from the archaic pentagram-shaped magic formation landed on the ground, and Khan, the main target, was caught into the fray. Even with his Quicksilver skill, he barely managed to escape 4 strikes that shattered the 20 meters of space in an instant. While avoiding the strikes, his gaze landed on Cassandra. The sorceress looked at Khan and waved her right hand as if bidding him a farewell with a grin on her face. "This bitch!" He cursed and sidestepped left and avoided a blinding lightning strike. As if this wasn't enough, Cassandra started casting another magic formation just above the one that was currently attacking Khan. Swoosh! Bang! Khan avoided the light and water elemental arrows shot at him just in a nick of time that were aimed at his path to getting outside of this restriction barrier. Bang! Khan's aura blades finally broke through the defensive shield conjured by Cassandra and flew towards their master. In just a single collected attack, both the giant lances were pushed backwards. Swoosh! Suddenly, a chilling breeze passed by Khan's body, and for the first time during this competition, Khan felt shivers in his spine. Ah! Damn! Cursed Khan as he saw the lightning elemental magic formation disappear, but the new formation just above it was suddenly activated. Not just Khan but even the millions of audience suddenly felt chills on their body. Boom! A loud colliding voice filled the battle arena and right in front of the whole empire watching this match. Cassandra summoned a gigantic goddamn iceberg. Son of a... Before he could complete the words, the 100-meter-wide iceberg descended upon him. Bang! A loud explosion banging noise filled the arena. And before Khan had any chance, Cassandra buried him under the cold and frozen ice. "Master!" exclaimed all the subordinates who were hidden among the audience, because in front of them, their master was completely overwhelmed while facing this woman. It hadn't even been 10 minutes since the battle started for real and Cassandra was legitimately whooping Khan's ass in front of the whole empire. Without his cheat abilities such as Executioner's Gaze, Hero of Darkness title, Azura mode, Berserk God mode, as well as Darkness elemental skills such as Dark Lightning Strike skill and Void Realm spell, Khan was getting thrashed around by Cassandra as if they weren't even in the same league. Forget fighting on even terms. Khan couldn't even come close to this woman. And she herself was a living hack who was using the skills and spells of 3 different professions like it was as easy as breathing for her. At this moment, Khan's aura greatswords hovering in the air also stopped moving and everyone watching this match thought that he was done for. "Oh my! Stop playing around, would you? This isn't any fun," spoke Cassandra with a bored expression, as if not being satisfied with the ongoing battle. She yawned and kept looking towards the ginormous iceberg that buried her swordsman opponent in the ground. Suddenly, a deep and grim voice resounded on the battlefield. "Hey, tell me, aren't you just a summoner? How can you cast magic formations like an enchanter? And that restriction barrier can only be used by a magician?" asked a man with a deathly tone. Because from what was seen in Cassandra's match with Celine Armitage, who was a semi-saint herself, she had only used the skills of a summoner till this point in this competition, and it was a no different case in her previous fight either. "Defeat me and I'll tell you my secret," said Cassandra as she winked at the iceberg as if she could see the man underneath, like Khan previously teased with the marriage proposal and embarrassed her. This time it was Cassandra toying around with Khan. Boom! A loud and ground-shattering explosion happened that sent tremors in the entire arena. The restriction barrier broke just from the shockwaves alone. The broken ice and snow were thrown off and spread around the battlefield as the once frozen place that the iceberg occupied before was completely turned into a burning crevice. Growl! A deathly growl resounded from the center of this blistering fire as if something was emerging from the pits of hell. Thud! Thud! A demonic figure who was literally on fire walked out, baffling all of the audience as his loud footsteps resounded in the surroundings. This being was none other than Khan, in the Dracos armor. A man on fire, surrounded by fierce black and red aura that was visible in the 100-meter radius around him, walked towards the woman dressed in black sorceress attire, his eyes filled with bloodlust and killing intent. "Fine then, let's see who's the best among us," spoke Khan with a tone filled with dominance and battle intent. After summoning the Dracos armor at the last moment and using the defense reserve skill that allowed Khan to store 50% of the damage taken and release it in the form of explosive energy burst just like Black Panther's vibranium suit. His body let out an explosive burst of heat as soon as Khan activated the Draconian Bloodline effect with both the Dracos armor and Lucifer equipped. It was more than enough to destroy the iceberg he barely defended against with those reduced stats. The drastic changes in his stats happened now in terms of strength, which rose by 90% in attack strength and 75% additional speed than before. At this moment, his defense also rose by 120% and the dexterity by 86%. And now, Khan was no longer under the restriction barrier, and with the Draconian Bloodline in effect, he was basically 2 times stronger compared to when the match started. To his invitation, Cassandra also released her full killing intent, completely unfazed by his sudden rise in strength, as she had anticipated this already. Khan reactivated the sword savant skill, and this time, the new aura greatswords shone brightly, and each of them became denser and highly concentrated with his aura since they also received this boost in strength. Khan dashed towards his opponent, and so did all of his aura swords. He used Quicksilver and appeared on the left side of the opponent, who was casting a barrier to protect herself. Swoosh! 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 One after another, multiple afterimages formed as the demonic figure kept appearing from different places as he became impossible to be tracked down. And neither was his next possible location sensed even to a seasoned fighter like Cassandra. That technique. How is that possible? Spoke many of the swordsmen and assassins class saints of various clans and factions who were watching this match from their respective VIP rooms. Impossible! This kid is unbelievable! Exclaimed Ismatrzel in disbelief as he noticed Khan's new movement technique. In the room for the Michelson clan, Stronov also had a bewildered expression. How can he do that? That's basically mixing two different classes' skills. And it's even better than my flash steps technique. Spoke Stronov with his eyes wide open. What do you mean, younger brother? Asked Damon Michelson. In the flash steps technique, you have to follow a pattern based on the direction you take initially while performing this movement technique. And then you have to follow the sequence to properly adjust your footing, or else, not only will your technique fails, but it might injure your legs as well. He explained. But what Khan is doing now doesn't follow any pattern, as if the whole battlefield has no friction, gravity, momentum, and there's no direction set in his movements. In other words, he's completely unpredictable, he elaborated. If he becomes a saint, he'd have a huge advantage over all the other physical and long-range classes. If he was at same stage as me, with this technique, even I will have to be scared for my life. For the next half an hour, their fierce battle continued as Khan kept dodging and evading whilst his aura sword destroyed Cassandra's constructs with the sheer number of attacks and numbers with different elemental swords. Cassandra was now forced on the back foot unlike before, and this time, Khan was simply too fast for her to catch him under a restriction barrier again. Even with her extremely keen senses, Cassandra was having a hard time tracking his new position. And taking the opportunity, Khan kept attacking with his lightning flash and bladestorm skill from time to time, which evidently formed multiple cracks on the protection barrier she cast a while ago. Crack, crack, crack. Soon, not only her barrier but all of her conjured weapons and shields also started wearing out and eventually cracked under Khan's fierce onslaught. And for the first time, Cassandra broke a sweat after the backlash of having her spells and constructs getting destroyed by Khan. I can still fight, spoke Cassandra with an exasperated expression as she used the yellow orb in her hand to summon a new set of constructs such as shields and walls for her defense. Khan quickly understood her strategy. She was aiming to bide time for a bigger and extremely destructive spell that could possibly end the match, while Khan focused on breaking through her new 10-meter-tall defensive constructs. Not on my watch, spoke Khan, and he threw Lucifer high in the air. All of the audience was quickly excited as soon as they noticed the skill move that made him famous even among the saints of this empire. Soon, all the elemental aura greatswords returned and coalesced around Lucifer to form a 250 meters gigantic greatsword made of highly dense elements, and for the second time in this competition, Khan used his ultimate finishing move. Even Cassandra felt an immense threat from this attack as she quickly cast dozens of protection barriers one by one and activated all of her defensive and damage-reducing spells and skill. She had already seen Khan use this move against Victor, so being complacent here will only hurt her instead. Dragon Strike, shouted Khan as he attacked with his renowned single-strike skill. Boom! Boom! Shatter! An ear-deafening explosion that blew up half of the battlefield in a single strike and shook the entire battle arena resounded in the arena, making millions of audiences fear for their lives. Right before everyone, all of Cassandra's barriers and defense constructs broke like thin ice dropping on the ground. Khan finally landed a critical hit on the #1 prodigy of this empire. Unlike him, she wasn't a chosen hero or had any divine abilities. And after fighting her till this point, even Khan had to admit that she was indeed the one who deserved that title. The fate of the young sorceress was now unknown to the crowd and the audience watching throughout the empire. after the large dust cloud that formed because of the explosion finally settled down. A bleeding and disheveled figure of Cassandra was finally revealed to everyone. But this time, her countenance was simply too furious as she looked at Khan with her vengeful eyes and spoke in a tyrannical and deathly voice. "Congratulations! You've successfully pissed me off." At this moment, Cassandra's infuriated gaze was full of murderous intent to the point that even Khan felt a sense of dread. Unlike before, it looked like she was done playing the pretend game and finally decided to take this match seriously. Inside the VIP room of the Michelson clan, Stronov stood up from his seat and walked near the glassed window from where they were watching the match. "I already told this kid that no matter what he does, he can't win against our Cassandra. And now, he'd be lucky to have his life intact unless we saints decide to interrupt." He spoke with a deep sigh. A summoner, an enchanter, a magician. These are just the side jobs of her main class. And most importantly, she hasn't even revealed her last card yet, he said in a solemn tone. "Yes, although this Khan Salvatore has the potential to surpass many swordsman saints in the future. He isn't comparable to my daughter if they are of the same rank," spoke Damon Michelson with a prideful expression. "I guess it is finally the time to reveal her real strength in front of the whole empire and display her true potential. Even our faction leader doesn't know of her true class yet. After all, Cassandra is the only person to unlock this class after the fourth ruler and first ever empress of the Rocco's empire who died 600 years ago," spoke Damon as he let out a content smile. "At this moment on the battlefield. Ha! I really didn't want to use it, but since you've forced my hand, I won't bother hiding it, so I'll give you a final chance. Admit defeat now," said Cassandra in her angered tone. "Because even I can't guarantee that you'll leave this arena alive," she declared loudly as she gave Khan a final warning. "Oh, don't worry about it. I'm pretty good at saving myself," spoke Khan as he thwarted off her death threat. Although he was tired after using Dragon Strike, which was extremely taxing on both his body and mind, he still had enough reserve strength to carry on fighting. "Good. That's what I was hoping for. Cherish those final breaths, because those will be your last," she said. The next moment, Cassandra clasped her palms together and her fingers started performing some sort of hand signs. Before Khan could do anything else, his survival instinct went haywire and rang loudly like never before. "Warning! The host is under immense danger. The host is advised to flee," alerted the system as well. "What the hell is this?" spoke Khan with his eyes wide open as he saw a silver aura encapsulate Cassandra, and soon, her body started levitating high in the air despite no semi-saint having the ability to fly. Yet, Cassandra kept rising towards the now darkening sky as the silver aura spread like a tornado, and she was at the center of it. A protective shield formed around her body, and soon, the silver and almost liquidish aura started taking a humanoid form. The oppressive aura emitted from this new construct was something comparable to an aura of a saint. But the feeling Khan got from it was something he hadn't felt before at all. This wasn't mana and neither was it world energy. The next moment, an ethereal and transcendent being came into existence as Cassandra started chanting some sort of spell. Boom! The entire battlefield shook and the audience of nearly 8 million people felt their bodies caving under insurmountable pressure. At the center of the head of this ethereal warrior being floated Cassandra and shouted loudly, "I beseech thee to come and aid me in my war. I beseech thee to fight by my side and defeat my foes. I beseech thee to exterminate my enemy. I, Cassandra Michelson, bearer of the mark, summon you, O mighty celestial being." She kept chanting. Her father, Damon, spoke in a contemptuous tone as he looked at Khan, who was rooted on the spot under the ethereal being's pressure. "Even though she's not even a saint yet, she has contracted with one of the strongest warriors. After all, Cassandra has unlocked the ancient rank class of the summoner profession," he said and continued in a domineering tone. "The deity summoner." On the battlefield, Khan, who saw the tall, levitating being, finally spoke with complete disbelief in his eyes. "Holy Mother of Susanu, Is she an Uchiha? Asked Khan with a baffled expression. Just then, Cassandra finally completed her summoning chant and announced loudly, I summon the, Shield Maiden Brunhild. Boom! A shockwave shook the 5-kilometer-wide battlefield and the summoning was finally completed. Just 2 kilometers away from Khan stood a 1-kilometer-tall corporeal blonde female dressed in silver and golden armor. Her entire body shone crystal white while Cassandra stood in the center of this being's tiara situated on her head. In her left hand was a silver and gold-colored shield while on the other was a long metallic silver lance, both of which looked like at least ancient rank weapons that existed only in legends. Did she just say Brunhild? As in the strongest Valkyrie Brunhild? Did the world setting suddenly change? Wondered Khan as he was still in awe after looking at this female warrior who appeared like a true goddess. Her enormous size, divine aura and appearance completely bewildered the whole empire watching this match, as if a goddess truly descended from the heavens. Not only Khan but all the saints, including the 3 7th-stage faction leaders, had their eyes wide open in complete disbelief. So that's what that bastard Stronov meant that day. Who the hell can even win against her if this is her real strength? She's not even a chosen heroine of any god or goddess and already this strong while still being just a semi-saint. What will happen when she becomes a legitimate saint? He asked himself. The very next moment, Khan made a firm decision and spoke to himself in a resolute voice. Shit, I'm outta here. After standing in front of the godly being, the young swordsman sensed a foreboding of imminent death. And if he stood in this battlefield, forget losing the match. He will certainly lose his life. Damn power, money, and authority. Staying alive is more important. Thought Khan and tried to run away. Just then, he received a telepathic message from Ronin who was sitting amongst the million people on the 18th floor of this ginormous arena. The rogue subordinate relayed a piece of important information to Khan and the swordsman was rooted on the spot despite having the urge to run for his life. Damn! Why was I so greedy? Exclaimed Khan as he instantly regretted a decision he recently made. With a regretful and scared face, Khan slowly turned his head around only to see the massive Valkyrie looking at him like a heavenly being looking down upon a small rodent on the ground. If she were to squeeze Khan between her fingers, he would die on the spot. At this moment, he felt like he was facing the Colossus Titan on his own. But at this crucial second, the system relayed a comforting news in his mind. Hero of Darkness title activated. Good. Looks like I have no choice but to go Levi Ackerman route now. Sighed Khan as he noticed that the night had finally fallen. He looked at Cassandra, who was at the center of the tiara of this godly being and completely protected by an aura shield. Given the number of eyes on him, bringing out Rudra was already a foolish choice unless he wanted to reveal one of his biggest trump cards to the whole empire and raise too many questions to the point where his identity as a chosen hero was revealed. Even though this empire didn't serve any god, they didn't have a good impression their representative heroes either. He would be either imprisoned or killed as a result. And maybe if he was unlucky, they'd make a slave out of him or treat him like a lab rat. On top of it, albeit very weak, Rudra was still a god beast. Revealing him here was a no-go. The risk was simply not worth it. But with Hero of Darkness title and Draconian Bloodline effect being active at the same moment for the first time, Khan could feel all of his physical stats and skills becoming 4 times stronger and 2 times faster because of the various buffs in strength, agility, and mana pool he originally had. Hey, Cassandra! He exclaimed loudly as he released his aura after the combined buff. What? Asked Cassandra as she commanded Brunhild to attack Khan. If I win, will you go on a date with me? Asked Khan loudly. Gasp. Millions of people gasped in surprise as Khan openly asked her out. This shameless guy! Cursed Cassandra in her mind and commanded her summon to go all out. Khan was taunting and flirting with her again, as if this was a gathering of young men and women. Right before billions of people watching, the ginormous Brunhild took an attacking stance. Her massive lance stabbed towards Khan, who was charging at them using Quicksilver. Boom! The battleground shook from the impact where the first lance strike landed. Khan barely escaped the radius of the explosion and appeared 200 meters away on the left from the point of impact. He dashed towards the titanic figure. Boom! Clang! Shatter! The battleground was riddled with explosions, crevices and ground shaking attacks, and Brunhild, who seemed to have a battle instinct of her own, started attacking Khan at her own volition. Khan kept dodging and evading in a similar way when Tom tried to catch Jerry. In just a matter of 10 minutes, half of the 5-kilometer radius was destroyed by the lance attacks and shield bash skills by the Colossus Brunhild. Khan, with his increased stats and power buffs, was evenly matched, which even made Cassandra and all the other saints shocked. Pant! Pant! Soon, Cassandra started sweating from her place and her forehead dropped beads of sweat. Ah, just as I thought. Maintaining this giant summon takes a toll on her body, mind as well as mana capacity. And the more attacks executed by Brunhild, the more exhausted Cassandra, the summoner, will get. Good. If that's her weakness, I better use it to my advantage, thought Khan as he let out a wide grin under the helmet. He came 200 meters close to this colossal figure and jumped high to directly land on the brightly shining lance. And right in front of billions of people, he dashed upwards to the shoulder of this ethereal being. The bigger they were, the slower they'd move, so Khan easily managed to reach the pauldron on Brunhild's shoulder. He looked at Cassandra, who also glared back at him, and spoke loudly. Think about it, Cass. Don't you think our babies will be smart and beautiful? Asked Khan in a flirtatious tone. The next second, Cassandra's entire face turned bright red as a flushed and furious expression appeared on her countenance. This bastard! I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him myself, cursed Cassandra in her mind. This was the first time in her life that someone so brazenly embarrassed and flirted with her. And that too when all the citizens and all the top figures of the Empire were watching them. Boom! A shockwave was released from the Valkyrie's body and Khan was thrown off high in the air. If you keep playing hard to get, it will leave me no choice but to be forceful, spoke Khan like a classic delinquent who harassed pretty women on a daily basis. Shrill. A shrill filled the surroundings of the arena as Cassandra finally lost her composure under constant harassment. You bastard! She shouted, and Brunhild swung her gigantic shield towards the free-falling Khan. Bang! The massive shield and Khan collided half a kilometer high in the air, and the swordsman was thrown higher after the impact. The man in the crimson burning armor floated in the air for a moment. I guess I have no other choice left now, spoke Khan. Swoosh, swoosh, clatter, clatter. In the following seconds, over 100 5-meter-tall greatswords, made of 5 different elemental auras, appeared around Khan as he descended from the sky and directed them all towards the gigantic Valkyrie, who was also aiming to land a fatal blow. For the first time in his journey till the finale, he activated the Sword King skill. Stalin, the faction leader of the neutral faction, also had his mouth wide open for quite some time. And after his gaze landed on Khan, who also revealed the impossible to them. Impossible? What kind of freaks are these two? Exclaimed Jeremiah, the faction leader of the demi-human faction, then spoke with eyes full of disbelief. This Cassandra and Khan, both of them have the potential to surpass even the first sage and the first emperor. The whole empire was stunned by the ongoing match, as both the finalists displayed unparalleled skills during their battle that were out of everyone's expectations. How can he use that skill without even breaking through to the saint rank? Spoke Stalin in bewilderment. Not just him, but more than 100 saints watching this match were gobsmacked. Because even someone like Stronov Michelson couldn't create that many aura swords when he was still a semi-saint saint. And he was nicknamed as the greatest swordsmanship prodigy in the past 100 years. At this exact moment, Stronov had a helpless expression. Now I can't do anything to get him on our side. Brother, who is he really? How can he fight our Cassandra as equals? Asked Damon. He was a mage, so he too could sense the extremely dense aura and compressed elemental swords. Boom! Clang! Crack! The entire arena shook from the shockwaves after Khan's aura blades and Cassandra's attack using Brunhild clashed together. Although he lacked the brute strength compared to the deity summoned by Cassandra, he closed the gap with the sheer numbers of aura greatswords, every single one of which were almost 4 times more powerful than before. Clanging noises filled the battlefield as lightning, fire, water, wind, earth, wood and light elemental skills and attacks collided against one another. Explosions after explosions filled the battlefield and the ground shattered in the 5-kilometer radius ring. Even the millions of audiences in the crowd were scared from the aftershocks and almost felt like they were the ones actually standing inside the battlefield. But as an after effect, both Khan and Cassandra started losing their strength and stamina because the amount of strength and mana both of them were using to attack the opponent was depleting at an extremely fast pace. Even Khan with the doubled mana pool and stats felt like his head would crack open because the 100 swords were engaged in a constant clash against Brunhild, who was masterfully defending against them no matter which direction he attacked from. Everywhere the lance attacks from the Valkyrie landed, hundreds of meters of space was destroyed to smithereens. With both of them on the back foot and almost out of energy to carry the battle, they understood one thing: that they had to end it with a single and their most powerful ultimate skill. "Hey! You're running out of strength as well, right?" asked Khan to his tired and profusely sweating opponent. Cassandra was panting heavily and gave a deathly glare to Khan. "If you are tired, just forfeit the match and go home," she replied in a playful tone. Khan chuckled back in response. Both he and Cassandra were pushing themselves to their limits and for some reason. But the two of them felt like they were having a good time. Among the VIP rooms for prestigious clans, a half-breed white-haired demonkin girl in red and black armor, along with 2 glimmering red swords on her waist, was looking at both Cassandra and Khan with shocked eyes. "So, I wasn't even worthy to compete with them on even grounds?" wondered Celine Armitage, the dual-sword saintess. She had barely mustered the courage to watch the finale after being defeated by Cassandra in the semifinals. Now found that it wasn't even her best. And the man named Khan, whom she hadn't even expected to reach this stage, was many times stronger than her. If she were to face Cassandra at this moment, she would have been mortally injured already. The sorceress and the swordsman in front of her were already in a completely different league. Soon, both Khan and Cassandra reached their limits and Brunhild's movements became slower as Cassandra had almost depleted her mana reserves that she needed to maintain the summoned deity. Crack! Crack! Both the Valkyrie and the greatsword started cracking as their respective owners became like an arrow at its end. Khan dashed forward and came 100 meters close to now cracking figure of Brunhild. The next second, his image flickered and appeared right on the top of the massive shield held by the Valkyrie. Stab! And before Cassandra could even react, Khan appeared on the head of this deity. He already knew that if Cassandra wasn't limited by her rank as a semi-saint, this summoned deity would be tens of times stronger. Compared to a guy like him with divine abilities, Cassandra was the true once in a millennium prodigy. Crack! Cassandra was taken aback but quickly recovered her composure and started making hand signs with her palms and fingers. "Give up," said Khan as he stopped and tried to crack open the protective barrier using Lucifer and land a finishing blow on the Raven sorceress. "Dream on," she replied. However, before Khan could break past their defenses, Brunhild's body shone blinding white. The survival instinct alarmed him of an impending doom and he was rooted on the spot. "This suicidal bitch!" cursed Khan as he pulled out Lucifer from the barrier and tried to escape. Boom! Another ear-deafening explosion occurred, and the whole arena was blinded by a bright white flash. The entire battlefield shattered in seconds and nothing but a gigantic dust cloud spread throughout the arena. And finally, after 3 minutes, the battleground, or whatever that was left of it, became visible to the audience. On the left side of the ring lay Cassandra with multiple gashes and bruises on her body. Her beautiful face completely covered with blood and her arms full of burn marks. Her epic rank robes torn from place to place while the yellow orb she used to channel magic was completely broken as she used it at the last moment to save herself from the mortal danger after she self-destructed Brunhild. Cough cough. Cassandra coughed out an ample amount of blood as her bloodied face looked towards the other end of the battlefield. 2 kilometers away, Among the debris of the battlefield lied a man in tattered black pants. His long coat and shirt ripped out and his naked upper body exposed to the whole empire. His budging muscles and manly build appeared in everyone's sight. In the last moment, Khan used Quicksilver to escape, but since Brunhild's body was so big, he was still caught in the explosion that could have killed him. And the price he had to pay for it was Draco's armor being destroyed to save his life. Again. His bloodied and disheveled figure that had multiple cuts, bruises and bleeding wounds all over his body became visible to Cassandra. Both sets of eyes met each other and Khan finally stood on his feet using Lucifer as support. He gazed at the sorceress in front of him, whose condition wasn't any different. All of their skills and swords were gone, and now only 2 warriors remained in this bloody battle. Ha ha ha! Ha! Ha ha! Ha ha ha! Ha 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 ha! Khan started laughing in a maniacal tone as he pointed his blade towards the opponent and gazed at Cassandra, his body covered in blood and eyes filled with madness. I, Khan Salvatore, declare you, Cassandra Michelson, he spoke and announced, as the strongest. After Khan's declaration that resounded in the whole arena, all the audience across the Empire, 100 saints and the 3 faction leaders were amazed and also curious at the same time. Cassandra also looked at Khan with a surprised expression, but then let out a chuckle as blood dripped from her arms and chin. Yet the expression on the injured sorceress was that of a satisfied person. Finally, someone who can fight as my equal, spoke Cassandra with a grin on her face, as if she was finally happy and content with this fight. She looked at Khan, who was 2 kilometers far, noticing his minute expression, and realized that the words that came from his mouth were his honest feelings indeed. Her opponent that she looked down on because of knowing her strength turned out to be just as strong as her, and even so, he truthfully acknowledged her. Tell me something, Mr. Salvatore. Why are you so keen on winning the fight? You know that even if you won the competition, only a thorny path awaits you. Despite knowing all that you will become enemies with all these factions and clans one way or another. Why do you want to win? She asked, that was targeted only at Khan using some sort of magic spell. Apart from the 2 of them, nobody else heard her words. Well, tell me your reason first. Then I can come up with a proper and suitable explanation. You already have power, money, background, and authority. So why are you fighting till the point of getting injured in this battle as if your life depends on it? He asked curiously through the magic spell connection he felt with Cassandra. Because I want to prove myself, replied Cassandra while adjusting her breathing. Khan raised an eyebrow and signaled her to elaborate. That where I am now isn't solely me being the daughter of the clan leader, but because of my own hard work and talent. And that's why I can't afford to lose, responded Cassandra as a violet burst of aura was released from her body. Well, you've at least convinced me for now, spoke Khan with sincerity. Now tell me yours, she said. Khan nodded in response and replied in a gentle tone. It's not because I crave power, money, or authority. It's not a want but more of a necessity. What I need is strength. Enough strength to the point where I responded Khan and let out a deep sigh as he explained the real reason. Will be in control of my own fate, replied Khan with his honest feelings. Shocked. Cassandra was shocked as soon as Khan's words reached her ears. And for the first time, Cassandra looked at Khan with eyes full of respect and acknowledgement. Although he was her enemy at this point, Cassandra understood one thing for certain. Although their paths were different, their destination was the same. He. Only if this woman knew the truth, spoke Rudra in his mind while mocking Khan. Shut up, shouted Khan. What? Am I being wrong? You're fighting to win this match even after she summoned that celestial being is because of something else, retorted Rudra and explained the real truth. Because you bet your entire fortune on your victory, spoke Rudra in Khan's head and started laughing loudly. This bitch. Just you wait. I'm going to settle the score for this one soon, cursed Khan at the basilisk subordinate. However, inside his mind, Khan was crying, because he bet all his money while being overconfident and told his generals to go all the way in. when Brunhild appeared and Khan wanted to forfeit the match. Ronan messaged him telepathically and reminded him of the choice he made. If he were back down then, Khan would lose the entire fortune and not even have a single penny in his hands. He then looked at Cassandra, who was already preparing for a final attack as she summoned a 20-meter-long archaic spear of her own that let out bursts of energy with each passing second. However, Khan wasn't even slightly fazed from the incredibly oppressive aura. "Well, I wish we could have met in different circumstances and not as enemies." He spoke. "Cassandra, I can't afford to lose this match either. So I will give you the last chance. Admit defeat. Because if I use my last card, even I'm not sure if I can control it." He warned without any malice or killing intent. Cassandra, on the other end, wiped off the blood from her bleeding lips and replied with an unshakable iron will. "Bring it on," she said with an excited face. Khan closed his eyes and spoke in a calm demeanor. "Thank you for pushing me beyond my limits. You have my gratitude," spoke Khan as his eyes turned serious. Clatter, clatter, clatter. The very next moment, something happened that shook the entire arena. Khan's aura suddenly expanded so wide that the audience in the entire arena felt a burst of chaotic energy on their bodies. Soon, clattering noises filled the whole arena from hundreds of different places. Swoosh, swoosh. Out of a sudden, a sword on a guard's waist popped out of the sheath and flew towards the battlefield where the two finalists stood in a standoff. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In the following moments, hundreds and then thousands of swords that were equipped on either guards, the swordsmen among the audience, military soldiers, millions of clan members of prestigious clans, and even some of the swordsman saints lost control over their swords despite using their saint aura. Cassandra was rooted on the spot as she noticed the abnormality in the surroundings. Hundreds, thousands, and then nearly 1,000,000 of swords levitated in the air. Khan held Lucifer downwards from the hilt and let go of his great sword. And right before the eyes of the Rocco's empire, Lucifer disappeared in the ground as if it drowned inside deep water. The next moment, the millions of flying swords flew towards his side and directed their blades towards the Raven sorceress. Beads of sweat dropped from Cassandra's forehead, who had an aghast expression on her face as she felt an inevitable sense of death and destruction coming her way. Khan then gave a final look to Cassandra, the opponent he had come to acknowledge. His tyrannical and kingly voice resounded in the whole empire as he spoke the name of his ultimate skill, Bankai Senbin Zakura Kageyoshi. After 1,000,000 swords filled one side of the battlefield and almost created a ginormous cloud with their sheer numbers alone. Half of the arena was now in the dark from the shadows of this tornado made from the hovering swords. Khan was using the Sword Battlemaster skill again that originally allowed him to control every sword in a 1-kilometer radius. But after Khan became a semi-saint, the range was doubled and his current maximum range became 2 kilometers radius. This was a SS rank skill just like his Sword King, which was already said to be comparable to a Saint rank skill. And it wasn't even a SSS rank as the system had informed, yet the potential was already leagues above compared to other Saints. There was a time when Khan wondered what would happen if he raised these skills levels to Saint rank in the future. Just how OP would these skills get? Now, with the Hero of Darkness title activated, the area expanded by 3 times and Khan could summon and control all the swords in a 6-kilometer radius, which was nearly 90% circumference of this battle arena. And hence, when he finally used this ability for the first time since he revealed his rank as a semi-saint in the Emperor's Chosen competition, he received the maximum output. Blood trickled down from Khan's eyes and nose, but his already bloodied face helped him completely mask their origin. Because given the sheer numbers, he was barely holding on to and maintaining them in the air. At this moment, his head felt like it was hit by a truck, but Khan was still pushing himself with focus, commitment, and sheer will. Everyone, including the 3 faction leaders, were gobsmacked and completely out of their wits. It wasn't like they hadn't seen such scale for a battle skill. They themselves could do the same, but even so, this wasn't possible for them back in the day, no matter how talented and hardworking they were. This was the first time in the 1,000 years of history of their empire did someone show this grand of a skill while only being a semi-saint. This kid, if he were to become a saint, he'd become unstoppable on a battlefield. He has even surpassed Rathnar, the one who was close to becoming a sword deity if he had succeeded in becoming a demigod. No matter what, if we can't have him on our side, we shouldn't at least make an enemy out of him, spoke Jeremiah Themis, the faction leader of the demi-human faction. He already realized that the neutral faction had Cassandra Michelson and they'd nurture her to become a powerful figure in the empire. And from the intel he received, Khan had already joined hands with the Pureblood faction after his sudden visit to their headquarters. Now, he instantly regretted not approaching this young swordsman soon because he wanted to wait and see how things would play out. Also, because of the situation with the two demonkin saints from the Apopes clan who tried to publicly kill Khan. His relationship with their faction was already sore. At this exact moment, Alistair Moore Vandereyck, the faction leader of the Pureblood faction, also spoke in their VIP room. "We need to find a different method to complete that ritual. He's too precious to let go," he said with a serious tone. "But Lord Father, there is no other way, and we don't even know if he'll really succeed," spoke Ismaetrezl, the clan leader of the Vandereyck clan. "We still have time. We should wait till he succeeds and then we will take our final decision. Maybe not now, but in the future we have to make him join our faction at all cost," spoke Alistair in a stern tone. At this moment inside the broken battle ring, Khan had his gaze locked onto Cassandra, who was rooted on the spot, completely bewildered. This shouldn't even be possible, thought Cassandra with an aghast countenance. The numbers of swords that were ready to attack her at any given moment were simply too many to even count. If Khan decided to attack her now, she'd be shredded into small pieces. And even if she decided to fight with her last one-shot skill called the Spear of Dominion, she wouldn't even be able to destroy half of these swords. And after this attack, she will not possess any strength to stand on her feet. Obviously, she'd be a helpless target for Khan to kill. In her mind, Cassandra felt like she would die for real if she exchanged the final move. Thud. The next second, Cassandra dropped on her knees as an overwhelming realization hit her. She looked at Khan and asked in a serious tone, You were holding back from the very beginning, weren't you?" she asked her opponent, who she had just come to acknowledge as her equal. To her question, Khan only nodded in response. All the citizens of Rocco's empire had a moment of silence at this second. In front of the whole empire, Cassandra finally spoke. I admit defeat," declared Cassandra, and her voice echoed in the entire arena. Stunned, gobsmacked, every single person watching the match, including Cassandra's father, her uncle and their faction leader, Stalin Joseph, were stunned on the spot again after her declaration. Not a single person among the top brasses of the empire had expected Cassandra, the #1 prodigy of their empire, to be the one to admit her defeat. And that too when more than 4 billion citizens of the empire were watching. Thud, thud, thud. 2 sets of footsteps resounded from behind the Raven Sorceress as Veronica and Isaac ran haphazardly towards Cassandra. "Big Sister Cassandra!" exclaimed Isaac as he and Veronica supported Cassandra's hunched and wounded body. He's dead. He's so dead," spoke Veronica after looking at the bleeding figure of Cassandra and gave Khan an intensely hateful look. She put her hand on the sword and tried to pull it out as she was fuming with rage. However, before she could react or release her killing intent, the young sorceress grabbed her hand. "Don't mind him. He won this match fair and square with his strength," spoke Cassandra as she panted heavily and leaned on Veronica's shoulder with blood still leaking from her mouth. "Big Sister Cassandra, how can you accept this defeat?" asked Isaac as he too was angered to his core. "What's there to be ashamed about losing, after all?" spoke Cassandra as she lightly smiled and gazed at Khan with eyes full of compassion and respect. "An honorable defeat is its own reward." After Cassandra willingly forfeited the match in front of the audience, Both Veronica and Isaac gave her a high-grade health and stamina recovery potion to drink. And without caring about the onlookers or their elders, both the swordswoman and the knight carried her profusely bleeding figure with steady steps. With her accepting the defeat, Khan officially won the competition. Yet there were no loud shouts or grand announcements of his victory even after a couple of minutes passed. Everyone, let it be the normal people in the crowd or the ones watching the live broadcast, the influential figures and the top-ranking saints of the empire stood stunned on the spot. Most were simply out of their wits. The young swordsman with 1,000,000 swords hovering above him stood like war god in front of the empire. His eyes full of dominance and sovereignty, as if he was looking down upon everything under the sky, were displayed to all the citizens through the broadcasting screens. A minute later, Khan waved his hand, and after receiving his command, all the swords started returning to their respective owners, as if he remembered exactly from whom did he borrow these swords. Just then, Albestros, who came with Khan and watched this match from their side, started running towards him. "Tell them to be ready," commanded Khan to his generals. Tap, tap. Khan, with his body that was still riddled with wounds and bleeding from many places, started walking towards the center of the arena with faltering steps. Drops of blood trickled down from his chin and his arms as the young swordsman kept breathing heavily while all broadcasting artifacts were focused on him. "You did it, kid. You finally delivered on the promise you made," spoke the old Grandmaster Blacksmith as he supported Khan's, who barely had the strength to stand at this point. Khan leaned onto the old man's body and spoke with an emotional and heavy voice. Tears dropped from his eyes as he looks towards the dark starry sky. "Mother, Father, you can rest in peace now. Your son will keep his promise. I will protect our people as long as I'm alive," spoke Khan. To the masses, these words came out of nowhere, and all the citizens of the empire, who were still baffled, but then after hearing Khan's words, they all become curious. What promise? What people? But before Khan could speak and reveal furthermore, Alistair Moore Vandereyck descended upon the battlefield. He quickly restored the battlefield that was blown into smithereens with the tap of his right foot and signaled the announcer to declare Khan's win. "Ladies and gentlemen, we finally have our victor, our new champion, our new emperor's chosen, winning with godly talent and skills. The one who won with his heaven-defying might. Please cheer for our new emperor's chosen. Khan Salvatore," declared the announcer. Dang, dang, dang. Drums started beating and celebratory music started in the background. Fireworks after fireworks shone brightly in the sky, and finally, the audience in the arena stood on their feet and started cheering for Khan. At this moment, the only people cheering for Khan were the normal folks throughout the empire who bet their money on him and the people from 7 deadly sins inside the arena. It was already given that most of the populace had bet on Cassandra, the most famous and the strongest candidate in the competition. Even the rival factions, business organizations, and noble clans had bet quadrillions of money on her win. So the loss was massive, and no powerful or ruling figure except for those who bet on Khan had a happy expression. Alistair looked at Khan with eyes full of approval. From Khan's win, the one to benefit the most was him and the pureblood faction, since the young swordsman was already their ally, and the immeasurable fortune they bet on him would be multiplied many times. So it was a win-win for them on both fronts. Finally, Alistair spoke with a content tone and declared in front of the empire. "I, Alistair Moore Vandereyck, the general of the army, declare Khan Salvatore of the Rukon district as the rightful winner of the 19th Emperor's chosen competition. His name shall be forever immortalized in the history of our great Rocco's empire. So people of our great empire, give him a loud cheer," spoke the vampire faction leader in a grandiose gesture. "Yeah, you're the best. I knew it. He was the best. He's the first commoner like us to win this competition." Soon, thousands and then millions, and lastly, more than 1 billion citizens started cheering for a man who was said to be born into poverty and struggle just like them. Khan, on the other end, drank a potion to recover his health. Alistair, the old vampire, turned his gaze to Khan again and spoke in a benign tone. "Congratulations, Mr. Salvatore. You have shown us an impeccable display of pure strength and talent to all of us. It also stands as a testament to the bright future of our great empire if the young generation is filled with people like you. You have my humble gratitude," said the faction leader, who was simply trying to look good and kind in front of the normal populace. "Now, as per the traditions, you can choose any area from the 3 remaining places of the empire that are allowed to be chosen as a fiefdom, out of which the 5,000 kilometers area of the Moriarty County is rich with natural resources such as rare metals, ores and diamond reserves, while the Blackwood County is a 6,000 wide plain with numerous gold, silver and even some orichalcum mines. All the cities, districts and everything under these places are yours to rule for the next 20 years as per our ancient law. And just like the imperial rule of the past, you shall receive help by the government to rule. Your authority shall be unquestioned and unparalleled, as the people of these lands will be your subjects as well as your responsibility from now. The only restriction is that you shall not change any laws that the citizens of this empire have as their birthright as per our constitution. So please, make a choice and take command of the fiefdom you wish to rule," spoke Alistair in his regal tone. This was something that all of the ruling powers and the top 3 factions yearned for. Currently, everything was divided in these 2 regions and no one was truly in control of these areas because various government sectors ran by different clans and factions never let others have an upper hand. But if the emperors chosen decided to rule over any of these 2 places, the one supporting them will be the final winner with unquestionable authority. And this was exactly what Cassandra had warned Khan about during their fight, because one way or another, he was going to become enemies with a lot of people if he won. However, before the old vampire could continue, Khan opened his teary eyes and the whole empire heard his response. "Apologies, Lord Alistair, if I do that," spoke Khan with a stern tone and continued. "I'm afraid I'll get killed." Shock! Gasp! All the citizens were shocked by Khan's reply. "I have already been shown my place by the people from noble factions where does a commoner like me belongs. That if I try to reach for something that's not allowed to someone with my background, our lives are easy to be taken and we can't even do anything," replied Khan. "Forget ruling a fiefdom, I'm afraid I'll be killed on my way there before I even assume the command," he said with a worried expression. "And even if I somehow manage to live till that point, the government itself, which has only people from the 3 factions in higher positions, will soon take away their support and blame it all on me that I'm an incapable ruler. After all, it's not about helping people but ruling them. And as a result, the innocent citizens will suffer. The one who doesn't belong to any faction will never get any help or support from the government itself. So I'm afraid choosing any area as my fiefdom is no different than inviting death." "Stalin Jeremiah," called out Alistair to his fellow 7th-stage saints, who were also taken aback by Khan's declaration in their respective VIP rooms. The next second, both of their figures flickered and appeared in front of Khan. All 3 of them were people with vast experience and foresight, so they quickly understood that Khan was trying to pull another stunt like he did in the semifinals. "Alistair, what the hell is this kid trying to pull now? Didn't he join your side?" asked Stalin, the faction leader of the neutral faction. "Whatever it is, we must not let him succeed, because one thing I'm sure of, whatever he's trying to pull," he replied with an enraged tone in the minds of the other 2 saints. "He's trying to deceive us all." In the middle of the battlefield, all 3 top saints of the Rocco's empire reached a collective consensus that whatever Khan was trying to do, they had to thwart his plans and make all of his claims against the noble clans and their respective factions look baseless. Because the last time, they barely managed to keep everything under control and had to deal with a lot of public criticism throughout the empire and barely managed to smolder the matter before the finale. But now, the main perpetrator was trying to pull another stunt like that, and this time, the same method for damage control wouldn't work. "I, Alistair Moore Vandereyck, declare that you can choose any of the 2 areas and I declare full support from the military," spoke Alistair as he emphasized the word, 2. "Yes, all the departments of the ministry will also provide their full support with funds for redevelopment and economic expenses. So pick any of the 2 areas you like," spoke Stalin, who also was the chairman of the Council of Ministers. "Are you sure?" because I'm afraid everyone will go back on their word once the competition is over and people of the Empire aren't watching through such grand competition and broadcasts of this scale. Spoke Khan without fear, and billions of people also resonated with his words, because that's how normally things happened in reality. "What about you, Chief Justice?" asked Khan to Jeremiah Themis, the faction leader of the demi-human faction. "Yes. The rules according to the accords for the fiefdom owned by the Emperor's Chosen shall be carried out without any interference from any third party or sector of the government. So you can choose any of the chosen areas you see fit. You have our word that you will receive full backing and support for the first 5 years of rule as per the traditional rules," spoke Jeremiah. All three of them didn't want a similar situation like the last time because if things escalated, the outcome would be detrimental for all of them. And once all three of them openly declared their full support in front of the whole empire that was watching from different corners and places, Khan let out a light smirk. "Good. Now that all the three factions and representatives of the government in these three sectors have given their word in front of the whole empire, I shall choose the area I want as my fiefdom. And the area I choose is," he spoke. At this moment, all the citizens and the top 3 saints of the empire had their eyes glued on Khan and awaited his final decision. Khan then turned his face towards all the broadcast artifacts and declared loudly, "The Verlassen mountain range." Gasp! Millions of citizens gasped at the same time. Flabbergasted. All 3 of the saints were flabbergasted and had their eyes bulged out. Because the 8,000 kilometers wide area Khan chose in front of the whole empire was actually the 3rd area apart from the 2 they all suggested to him. Under billions of surprised gazes, Khan quickly collected himself and spoke again. "I do not crave riches or any form of wealth, and neither do I crave any form of resources or authority over a domain filled with an abundance of natural treasures. Before any of you decide to judge me, let me tell you a story," spoke Khan without giving any of the saints a chance to speak. "I, Khan Salvatore, am originally from the Verlassen mountain range. Yes, it is my birthplace. I am from a house of people who used to fight in the war against the monster army tide that has been happening every single year for centuries. 20 years ago, my entire family was wiped out while trying to fight against this army of monsters. Both of my parents were in the army. Even now, I do not remember their rank or their position, but I remember their resolve and their creed. They both wanted to better the lives of the people. They wanted to heal the wounds of those who always lost their homes and their families every year. When I lost everything to one wave of those monsters, my uncle, the only remaining family member I had back then, took me far away. Before departing, I took an oath on my parents' graves that one day, I will return and make our people's lives better, that I will carry on their will," spoke Khan with a heavy voice as streams of tears trickled from his eyes. Only then did people realize that he was talking about some promise to his parents after winning the match. 7,089,452, spoke Khan as his firm voice resounded. "These are the numbers of soldiers that died last year in the Verlassen mountain range while fighting the monster tide," he revealed. 24,090,845. He gave another number. "These are the normal citizens of that area who died after the military failed to defend against the monster tide," he elaborated. "Even with 1/3 of the annual budget of the empire spent in quadrillions, why haven't the monster outbreaks been controlled in the past 200 years? As someone who was born there, I feel as if the people there have been abandoned and no one even cares about their lives. I have spent the past 20 years of my life training to become a capable warrior just so that I could return one day and fight to protect my birthplace," spoke Khan with a fierce yet passionate voice. "And that's why I even risked my life in the semifinals to reveal the scam, because I didn't want anyone to ignore my people for their greed and abandon them again. It was my only chance if I wanted to keep the promise made to my dead parents that day." He spoke as his body started quivering with sadness that was filled in his watery eyes. "Now, tell me, isn't it a son's duty to care for his sick mother? Isn't that what it means to be a true patriot of our motherland? Tell me, have I made a wrong choice by thinking about the people of our great empire who have been abandoned and neglected? Tell me, O people of the Rocco's Empire, will you stand with me? Will you support me in giving hope to the millions of helpless people who never had someone truly fight for them? Shouted Khan vehemently as his encouraging voice resounded throughout the empire. And in just a matter of seconds, even those people who did not cheer or felt any joy after him winning all raised their fists in the air and jumped out of their seats and loudly cheered for him. In just a minute, the entire empire was riled up after Khan's emotional and enthusiastic speech. The screams of commoners cheering throughout the empire and chantings from the whole crowd present shook the arena as they openly voiced their support with Khan. But at this exact moment, all three faction leaders were extremely bewildered and looked at Khan with an aghast expression. This bastard! He chose that area on purpose, spoke Jeremiah in their telepathic chat group. Because it's the only place in the whole empire, spoke Stalin. But before he continued, Alistair spoke with a fearful tone. Where no saint can enter. As soon as all three faction leaders came to the realization, it was already too late. Only now did they realize why Khan pulled another blunder against the government and the noble clans. Because one thing all of them understood at this point. They have been had. The young swordsman whom they easily controlled last time had outsmarted all three of them by provoking all the noble clans and factions and as their leaders. The three saints jumped into the fire to protect their public image. But now they saw through how Khan had tricked them into declaring their support and pledging full cooperation with him. Boy, what kind of nonsense is this? This isn't what we agreed upon, shouted the old vampire in Khan's mind. To this outraged question, Khan threw a grin back at the old faction leader. Didn't I say that I will be doing things my way? Our deal did not include me choosing a fiefdom of your liking. After all, if I chose either of those two areas, will I really be in control? Elaborated and asked Khan with a smug face. Alistair was completely shocked. For the first time in many decades, he was outsmarted by a human boy who was nothing but a small chess piece before. And now, neither of the three factions, their saints or the faction leaders themselves could even touch him, oppress him or take back their words, as the entire empire had already seen them promising their compliance with the young swordsman. Plus Khan now officially choosing this area and revealing his background history had greatly moved all the citizens just given the number of loud cheers and applause he was receiving. And with his potential revealed as the strongest semi-saint of the whole empire, no one could even question his qualifications or his reasons. Did he scheme all of this since the very beginning? Wondered all the saints. Because now, with his caliber revealed to the whole empire and all the other factions as someone who could even surpass the first emperor, the strongest warrior in the history of their empire, they couldn't even kill him, because if one of them moves against him, the other two factions will try to get behind and protect him in order to have Khan willingly join them. Khan, on the other end, stood with a content smile as he waved back his hands to the masses in the arena and the people watching this finale throughout the empire. His image fitting of a victor who truly deserved to win this competition. As for Khan himself, this journey itself was risky and he had changed his plans many times throughout the competition. One of the main reasons why he chose the Verlassen mountain range as his fiefdom was because he knew that even if he won a fiefdom, any saint, whether an enemy or an ally, could lord him over and he will never be truly in control. Because he realized that he couldn't do things on a small scale like before, but he couldn't afford to mess with the truly powerful either. So he needed a way to raise his strengths without anyone keeping an eye on him. And the whole shift in his plans started when Armin brought him some historical records in one of their meetings during the competition. Those were actually some of the records left by the previous saint owner of the Wayne Manor, who herself was a commander in the army and once served in this border before she became a saint. From her records, he found that there was some sort of invisible domain barrier that ranged from more than 8,000 kilometers, clearly a work of a chosen hero of a god or perhaps even one of the ancient top figures of the empire. And no saint had been able to enter through this side for the past 200 years. Many had already died trying. For reasons unknown, Verlassen mountain range was the side that separated and also protected the Rocco's empire from the other two neighboring empires despite having no saints protecting this border. And yet, plenty of money from the government budget went on mandating this area. That was when Khan got really curious about this part of the empire. Plus, the monster outbreak was something that came into existence only after 50 years of this barrier coming into existence. For over a century, there were a few sightings of legendary and a few mythical rank monsters as well. But most importantly, this place was actually the biggest source of materials harvested from monsters, resources such as mana cores and ores. So the government couldn't entirely abandon it either. After hearing the truth about why all the three factions were looking to hire the strongest semi-saints when he was invited to the headquarters of the Pureblood faction, Khan changed his plans again. Because the area where they wanted him to go was also accessible from this part of the empire. Just that his journey would be extremely dangerous and nothing but bloodied battles awaited him. Yet he was the kind who actually thrived on it. At that moment, Khan knew that this was the most suitable place for him. Not just him, but his subordinates, and also a way where no one would question him, keep an eye on him, or will order him around. And that's why Khan planned to go all the way to win this competition and choose this area as his fiefdom. Because this was something indeed worth all the risk. And he purposely goaded all the three factions' leaders into declaring their support for the same reason. So in the future, he could cultivate himself without worries and won't be their puppet either. With the fake and emotional background story about his past ties to Verlassen mountain range, his parents and the promise he made on their graves, he managed to sway the hearts of the common folks when the whole empire was watching. And now, he had the full public support. Besides, the deal he made with the Pureblood faction also came into play because unlike the two areas where the noble factions fought a silent war and game of politics, which Khan had no intentions to get dragged into, the Verlassen mountain range was the best place he could hold authority over and control at his own will, even if these people did not support him. This was going to be his own hunting ground, just thousands of times bigger and much better than any of the dungeons in the whole empire. Khan risked his life from time to time just to create a firm foundation for himself. Because there was no way everything would be handed to him just because he was a chosen hero of a god. There were plenty of battles, enemies, betrayals and challenges awaiting him. He also had to find the secret behind the history of this mountain range and what kind of monsters inhabited it. What kind of godly entity created that anti-saint formation, or why only that place in the whole empire was made that way. And how Khan's own part in the play would affect his future. Yet, there was nothing but excitement in his mind. Because this was going to be his little kingdom. And from this day forth, Khan's new journey would start. In just 1 year after coming to this new world, Khan had gone from a nameless nobody with no background, no power, no authority or any wealth, to become a ruler,